All right. Onward to Sanda.
Sanda surprisingly has a lot of notes.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff that happens in this show. And I don't know if they're kind of getting the world building storytelling out of the way in the beginning, but I feel as they continue to describe Santa's powers, continue to describe the world around them and what's going on, maybe some episodes will have more action where Santa is just fragging out versus the kids speculating on what's going on, and then I have to write like 500 pages of notes, but who knows.
Sanda's also one of those that like I kind of just watch and I'll enjoy it, but I don't feel like hyper invested in it. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's like almost like Tojima to me. But Tojima's funnier.
I think it's cool, and I think it will have the explanation for everything. I don't think they're doing all of this exposition of how things work just for the fun of it. I assume this is all going to get looped back and we're going to understand what the school is, what the world is, what's going on, and everything's going to make sense.
Yes, I agree.
But we move to episode 3 of Sanda. A dude in a fancy vest with fancy pants is smoking a cigarette at a shooting range, and he draws his revolver and shoots a Santa target. 3 in the chest, 1 in the head. And I have a note here that says very similar to a Mozambique drill, which is 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. He pulls the target back and he's like, Santa Claus, huh? And then he burns a hole in the center of the target with his cigarette. Cuts to Sanda in class, and Izawa had a stray hair, and Sanda plucked it. And he was like, oh shit, I just touched a girl's head. But she's like, oh no, thanks for doing that. You're so sweet, tee-hee. And then a red pencil case falls from the desk, and there's a red pen in it. And Sanda thinks that lately, stuff keeps falling around him. I like their use of red, though. There really isn't much color in the show, but when they really want to show the color red, it really
Very
pops.
vibrant. It's a very like muted show other than the reds.
Yeah.
Not a lot of like greens, purples and stuff like that, but I think it shows like how destitute the future is. I mean, it's going to be real, so it's fine.
He tells Amaya and Fuyamura, and they're like, you sure you're not just being jumpy? And should we be talking about Santa powers in public? Fuyamura says it's break time, so it's loud, so as long as they keep it down. And then Sanda yells that it has to be a Santa power, and Fuyamura shuts him up as Amaya plays damage control to a student that overheard. Sanda says that he can feel the Santa powers inside him growing, and he says because they believe in Santa. Fuyamura is like, well, what use does Santa have for knocking stuff on the ground? And Amaya says maybe because he has so much power and his body is so fucking tiny, it's leaking out everywhere. Sanda is like, hey, who you calling tiny? I'm 161 centimeters. And Amaya says he's 170 centimeters. But then Fuyamura sees a vase behind Sanda fall over. Amaya is like, well, maybe it's triggered by lying, because he's actually 168 centimeters. And Fuyamura says that she is 182. And she said that last episode too, so we know she's not lying.
She's 5'9" or 5'10".
She's tall for a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah, and Sanda's 6 or 5'2", and the other kid's 5'5". Just for everybody that's in America.
Amaya says he did a bunch of research on Santa and never heard anything about lying, but he knows that Santa doesn't give presents to naughty kids, and he would need some sort of ability to tell the good kids from the bad. And if he had an ability that made stuff fall over around bad kids, then they would be startled by the noise, and Santa would be forced to leave. And maybe the definition of, quote, naughty child, unquote, has become more specific and now means liars. Sanda's like, what a stupid fucking theory, and thinks back to Izawa saying Sanda is sweet, and then that would mean that that would be a lie, and then he has an imagination sequence of Izawa saying that he's gross as fuck. Amaya is like, hey, Fuyamura, try lying to Sanda. And she's like, damn, you put me on the spot. And then Sanda is like, man, stop this shit. We done talking about it. And they march down the hall, and Fuyamura is like, this is a perfect chance to find out if anyone knows anything about Ono. But then Sanda runs into the headmaster. The headmaster is like, oh, hey kids, I've been looking for you guys. And Sanda thinks that the wound on his face has already healed. Oshibu is like, I gotta borrow Fuyumura to discuss an unofficial matter. Then Fuyumura said she's kept a secret from Sanda this whole time. And she says that she likes him ever since the first day. And then the overhead lights break and glass falls and Fuyumura grabs Sanda and the kids run. Fuyumura is like, damn, that settles it. This new power of yours lets you detect lies. And Amaya is like, yeah, man, that lie was so fucking big, it blew up all the lights. It was a fucking whopper. And Sanda is like, damn, I'm a fucking loser.
Nobody fucking likes me. I suck. Please end me now.
Fuyumura says this new power will help them find Ono and they should hold a class meeting later. Oshibu is like, oh, well, whatever. If they're on school grounds, then there will be plenty of opportunities to see the students. The kids are in class now, and Sanda and Fuyumura are at the front talking about Ono's disappearance. And the kids are like, man, isn't it a little late for this? But the kids then talk about how weird Ono was, and no one talked to her. And then one girl says that Ono is dead, but then a bunch of books fall off the desk. Fuyumura is like, who the fuck said that? But then Sanda passes out. And the kids are like, oh shit, Sanda, you okay? And he thinks that they should be careful because if they lie, shit's going to start falling over, and he's a human lie detector. Sanda wakes up after class ends with Fuyumura and Amaya is like, you good, my man? And he's like, don't fucking talk to me. Do you know what it's like for someone to say something nice to you, and then you wait to see if shit falls over? Fuyumura is like, man, you sound like a 14-year-old wuss. And he's like, it's because I am. And every sound of something falling is the sound of my heart breaking. Fuyumura says humans lie 200 times a day, and she's going to show him how trivial these lies are. And she sets up some chemistry flasks on a table. She has a flashback of the person saying Ono is dead, and then Fuyumura lies and says she doesn't care about Ono, and she's just some girl that went missing. And all the flasks fall. And then Fuyumura continues her lie and starts punching the glass on the ground. And Sanda and Amaya are like, holy shit. And then they go to stop her.
I have a question. Okay, she continues to lie as she's punching the ground. Like, is the lie detector forcing her to punch the ground? Because I feel like she's doing this of her own free will.
I think they answer it here in like the next sentence. But basically, the initial lie saying she doesn't care that Ono's dead or whatever.
Right, and then she gets super passionate about it.
Then she gets passionate about it and then starts punching the floor. So the next line she says, she promises never to lie to Sanda unless she's willing to take it this far. So I think she's showing like she's not going to lie to him for the sake of like lying. Like if she lies, it's going to be fucking crazy and she's going to punch glass or something.
Yeah, I get it. It's just weird. She's just going the extra mile.
Yeah.
You didn't need to completely incapacitate your hand, lady.
And then she punches him in the chest, and he turns into Santa Claus. And he's like, fuck, man, my heart can't take this. And Fuyumura is like, wait a minute. My hand fucking hurts. So they go to the doctor, and it takes him 4 hours to patch her up. And it's nighttime now, so they go to clean up the glass, and then go back to their rooms. Sanda asks Fuyumura if she thinks someone in their class is responsible for Ono's disappearance, and she says that at the very least we know that someone doesn't think she's dead. They get back to the room to clean up the glass, but when Fuyumura opens the door, she sees Ono, and they're like, holy shit. But then Ono starts running, and Sanda chases her and grabs a red coat since he can go faster as Santa, but he still loses her as he grinds down the rails of the school. And they narrate they searched the school after, but they still couldn't find her.
Those, like, retractable soap shoes that he has on are pretty crazy.
Yeah. No one knows what those are, by the way.
We're sold, Greg. We're sold.
Yeah, I remember soaps were in for like 2 years until like kids were just like getting concussions.
Just breaking their fucking... Yeah, they're breaking their bodies in half. Dude, it's so... Like, here's the thing. Like, when something's slippery on your legs, like, the amount of muscle power you need to keep them together. Like, if you're on a skateboard, the skateboard isn't pulling apart because the trucks, the wood, everything's keeping it together. If you're like soap shoes or rollerblades, like that shit is hard, dude, to grind down something. Your legs will split apart.
I was a BMXer back in the day. I don't know much
Yeah,
about skating or rollerblading.
you were just doing fucking handlebar spins and shit, right, Greg?
Yeah, I was just doing tail whips to flares.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
They go outside and Amaya buys them all warm, sweet drinks from the vending machine. And Sanda is like, damn, everyone is so quiet. And then he drinks his drink upside down or something and it spills all over him. And Sanda and Amaya have a silly interaction. And Fuyumura smiles and laughs. And then she says, that was really Ono we saw. And she seems happy. Sanda says girls laughing make him on edge since it kind of sounds like they're crying. So he just sat there and didn't say anything. Cuts to Oshibu standing in the school hall with everything set up to have a school funeral for Ono. And Utagawa says her family never held a funeral for her, so the school is going to do it. And all the students are supposed to attend wearing their red formal attire. And Sanda and Amaya are like, damn, this smells fishy. Utagawa is the bald kid with the glasses, by the way. In the hall, everyone is dressed in red, and Oshibu asks if they know why people wear red to a kid's funeral instead of black, and he said it's because the kids should be sent off in a festive manner. Sanda goes to investigate, and he says his Santa sense says something is messed up with this school. But then Fuyumura rolls up and is like, Sanda, get out of the way. I'm crashing this shit. And she just has like fucking a billion bombs strapped to her.
Yeah, crazy. Calm down, lady.
But she does say, because she's a kid, it doesn't matter if anyone found out because she would just get away with it.
Right. Being a kid in this world is crazy.
Oshibu tells the adults he's doing this to flush out Santa Claus, and the anti-Saint Nick unit is in attendance, with dried holly leaves on their right arms, which signify official Saint Nick unit members. And Yagiuda Saburo is there, who was the dude from the beginning of the episode shooting the Santa target. Oshibu is like, Yagiuda, why are you standing in the back? You're our greatest weapon. And he says he doesn't like people standing behind him. He monologues and says that he hurt Santa pretty bad 20 years ago, and he's been hunting him ever since. And now he's 51 years old, and he's like, I'm almost old as shit, and joining the ranks of the elderly that the country has so many of and treats like garbage. He says being back in school reminds him of when he was a kid and felt invincible. But he's like, oh shit, almost got sentimental, and starts smoking a cig. But then he overhears Fuyumura, Sanda, and Amaya talking. And he's like, oh shit, kids still meet behind the gym to talk about youthful antics. And he hides behind a tree. Fuyumura is like, Sanda, you're staring at me. And he's like, no, I'm not. And she says, don't look at me unless you want to start something. And Sanda is like, man, what the hell does that mean? But sorry for making you feel uncomfortable. And Yagiuda is like, oh damn, does he have a thing for her? Stay strong, my friend. Sanda says he thinks he wants to remember how Fuyumura was the other night when she was laughing, and that her laughing was the biggest miracle so far. And Yagiuda is like, fuck yeah, man, you got a pair of balls on you. Let's go. She's a tough nut to crack. Sanda says that after the curse was broken, he made up his mind. And Yagiuda is like, oh shit, is he going to confess his love to her? You got this, kid. Do your thing. Sanda says it feels like there's a lot of hard times ahead for them, but he wants to make Fuyumura smile again. And that's why he was born as Santa's descendant. And Yagiuda is like, fuck yeah, man. Well said. Fuyumura stands up and is like, Sanda, I need to tell you something too. But just then, Sanda gets shot by Yagiuda, and he's like, fuck yeah, man. The older I get, the more of a sucker I am for teen romance stuff. And Sanda transforms into Santa. Yagiuda is like, man, this sucks. I gotta hold back tears after what I heard, but I gotta capture Santa Claus, and having a job sucks sometimes. And that's how the episode ends.
It do be sucking. I got a couple extra screenshots just because he shoots and then he tries to form some aura. And I just was like, yeah, I got to get the aura shot.
Yeah. Those holly leaves, though.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know if they're tattoos or they're like freeze-dried holly leaves that they just like put on their arms.
Yeah, I don't know. I assume they're tattoos. That'd be cooler.
A very strange episode. I liked it, but also like, all right, sorry, you know, it's chill.
Yeah, I mean, it's like setting up the story. Part of me wants Fuyumura and Sanda to end up together at the end. And the thing is like they tested this lie theory, I think, earlier in the episode. I don't know if I had a note on it, But I think maybe Amaya said something about it where, like, if someone says they like you, that's a lie because they could love you.
Right.
So
Mhm,
like
mhm,
it's a very direct lie detecting ability. It
mhm,
doesn't leave any room for assumption where like, oh, if they like me, like how do they like me? It's just like no
mhm.
like, only love, make things fall.
I mean, it seems like it's an amalgamous power. Like it could just be applied to anything. Because I could say I like Coca-Cola, but I actually love Coca-Cola. How does it have the distinction between the two?
I think it depends on
Right?
how hard shit falls.
Okay. Like if it just reaches terminal velocity right as it
Yeah,
exits the
yeah,
desk, it's
yeah.
like you fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I imagine. But who knows? Maybe we'll learn more in episode 4.